Welcome to the Uncanny Academy of X-Men. I'm Jared.
And I'm Professor Ladd.
That's good, Professor Led. I like that. I'm going to use that next time. So, anyway, for today's episode, we're actually going to do something pretty fun. I mean, we always have fun on these, but still. So, my other podcast, Under Two Capes, also on the channel, please subscribe. It really helps us out. I did an episode where I basically pitched, here's my DCEU, here's my MCU. In other words, if I were in charge of the movie universe, what I would do, what movies I would release and such. So I figured that episode did great. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Why don't we just do it for the X-Men show? So here we are. We're doing it for the X-Men show. So, Lad, do you have a list you're going off of, or do you want me to go first?
Why don't you go first? I was kind of just going to pitch some ideas.
All right. So I would start off. I see. So I was reading some X-Men comics today as sort of a prep for today's episode. And I was thinking, so I thought, why don't we just do House of X powers to 10? My problem with that is that requires a lot of setup. So actually, I would start with a Moira McTaggart movie. In other words, the overall continuity I'm doing is the Hickman Krakoa era X-Men, because that seems like the best way to get the X-Men in the world.
This is like modern X-Men comics, right? Like the last 5 years.
Yeah, it started in 2019. What I'm talking about is
modern.
that from the island from when they established the island nation of Krakoa and on, that's basically the world I'm playing in.
Oh, okay, got it.
Because in all honesty, that's probably the continuity that Marvel will do when they make an X-Men movie eventually, or they'll start leading toward that. So I figured, since McTaggart is central to that storyline, start with McTaggart. Now, Moira was in the younger. I say younger because they're using younger actors for characters that have existed for like 30 to 40 years. Yeah. That part, can I say this real quick? That part never made any sense to me about those movies. I get it, but at least make them look a little older.
Right.
The only one I can understand is Mystique, because she changes her appearance. I got that one, but Professor X still looks like he did.
The X-Men ages have always been all over the place because they're like, the time scale. They're like from World War II, and or the Fassbender, and then there's the modern day, and they go into the future. It's all over the place.
Well, so let me tell you this. So I believe that Dark Phoenix takes place in like the 90s, I think. So that would mean that Magneto is like 50 years old at that point. He looks spry for a 50-year-old.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, back to my movie. So I'd make a McTaggart movie. She was the CIA agent that was basically helping the mutants. Now, what Hickman established in House of X Powers of 10 is that she, in fact, is a mutant. And her power is whenever she dies, she resets her life, but she has all of her memories of her past experiences. It's exactly like if you're in a video game and you die, you respawn. In other words, she respawns from the very beginning, meaning there's a part where she dies and then she is back in the womb. That's how far back it goes.
Really?
So anyway, because she goes through all of the different X-Men continuities, and then from there figures out how to make the mutants dominant. So you start with her to basically establish that she exists in this universe. Then you get to Professor X. My next movie would be a Professor X movie.
I had a question. So Moira McTaggart, would that be like her researching and discovering, incidents of people with abilities, or what would it be like to the topic, like her movie? Discovering herself?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Would it be like her discovering herself, or like incidents of X-Men?
Act one. The first, I'd say 20 minutes of the movie is her discovering she has mutant powers, which she wouldn't know until she dies.
Yeah.
Now, the next part of it is her discovering she's a mutant. And then because part of House of X Powers of 10 is that she sees Professor X's announcement saying, hey, I'm a mutant and mutant and proud, basically, that message from First Class. So that would be like the midpoint of my movie. And then the ending part would be her discovering Professor X, the X-Men, and all that such.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Then I would do a prequel movie, sort of a prequel movie of Professor X, him establishing him. It would cover his origin, him discovering he has mutant powers, him meeting Magneto, them having their own fallout, and then it would end with Professor X founding the school.
Nice.
Then I would do a Cyclops movie because he was like one of the first X-Men. So I figured he would be a good way to start off and be his origin. And then midpoint would be him coming to the school and then the team being established, the original team.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the original team. And then I would honestly do a Hellfire Gala movie. Not Hellfire Gala, I'm sorry, Hellfire Club movie, which establishes like Emma Frost, Shaw, and that such. And then we put in that the sort of internal like struggle that Emma Frost is having, because she, as we know, she turns good at the end. She becomes a member of the X-Men. So we play off of that sort of like, am I doing the right thing or such? Or is this really the way I want to live my life? And then it ends with her joining the X-Men.
Right.
And then we would do a Jean Grey movie, which it doesn't end with the Phoenix at all. That's going to be like the like 10-year plan. In other words, the Thanos is going to be the Phoenix. Because that's my problem. That's one of the reasons I think why the X-Men movies failed for the Phoenix, but the comics succeeded, because the comics took like years and years and years to basically help us be like familiar with Jean Grey, help us like grow with her. Where the movies is like, okay, Jean Grey, Phoenix. You can't do that, because part of what makes Phoenix so impactful is that we spend so long with this character and then all of a sudden she like goes evil.
Right.
So you really can't do that. That's why they keep failing. And that's why it would just establish Jean Grey, and they would have hints that she's not totally in control of her powers. In other words, it would add, the post credit would be the hint of the Phoenix, like Avengers 1.
Right.
And then we get an actual X-Men movie, which is the X-Men versus the Brotherhood of Mutants.
What about did you mention a Wolverine movie, or is that kind of like setting up for later, maybe? Or
that's the next movie, because remember, Wolverine is not one of the original X-Men members.
Well, he should be, because he's the most popular one.
Well, no, I'm doing this as comically accurately as possible. Then the next movie actually is Moira meeting Professor X and having that scene from House of X Powers of 10, which it basically tells them, okay, your dream is a lie. It's not going to work out. Here's why. And then that movie is basic. It's called House of X Powers of 10, I believe. And then the way it's going to work is it's going to take place mostly in flashbacks, which shows her past lives. We see like the future of like the X-Men getting the Phoenix Force. We don't say it's the Phoenix Force, but we heavily imply it's the Phoenix Force, and fighting the Avengers. Yes, this takes place in the MCU, because at this point I can make that determination. So we see AVX. We see like the Sentinels coming online. We see Days of Future Past. Moira dies, and we see like all the different timelines. And then we see her at the end of the movie. It's basically going full circle. It starts off in that scene where she basically reveals to Professor X what's going to happen, and then it ends with her. One of the last scenes is her realizing, okay, I have to find Professor X. Meaning it ends before the movie starts, if that makes sense.
Right.
And then we get the establishment of Krakoa. The call goes out, and all these mutants show up. And this is where this is basically a cameo movie where we have all the different mutant characters that we both know and love and don't know at all show up on this island. So that, and then we would get basically my version of Inferno, which is, this is the Phoenix movie. I figure at this point, 10 years has gone by. At this point, this is the Phoenix movie, and it's like Jean Grey loses control of her powers, and then we get the whole Kree invasion, and like this planet killing force called the Phoenix Force gets into her. She absorbs it so it doesn't kill everyone else. And then what happens is is it goes crazy as it inevitably does because Jean Grey and the Phoenix. And then all of a sudden we hear someone screaming. We hear the schnicked. And then this is the introduction of Wolverine into my movie universe. He shows up and takes out Jean.
No, wait a second. I watched the classic TV series and I see that she actually survives the...
Yes. She comes back to life. It happens a lot in the comics, but
okay.
I'm just saying it takes out the Phoenix at least.
All right.
That's it. She has to die first for the Phoenix to be destroyed. So this is her first death. And this will be her only death. I'm not going to have kids that die and come back to life because the movie audience is not going to tolerate that.
Let's do it.
It's just not going to work. And then I'll do a Jubilee movie. Just kidding. Actually, you know what? I kind of would do a young X-Men movie at the end. And this would be kind of like a comedy movie. It'd be a palate cleanser after like the dark ass movie that would be like the Inferno movie, which is basically the Phoenix movie.
But we should make it actually really funny and just jokes all the time. Even though there's like Thor Ragnarok, but like Inferno.
Exactly. No, not Inferno. The young X-Men movie would be basically a Young Mutants movie, except I would do it way better.
X Kids.
And then you know who would be the babysitter of the X Kids? Deadpool. Like what happens is that he screws up on the island somehow, and they say, okay, the council is like, okay, Deadpool, you either babysit the X Kids or we put you in the center of Krakoa. He's like, okay, I saw what happened to Sabretooth. I'm just gonna babysit the kids. How hard can it be?
Right.
And it's not that good. Oh, obviously, Jubilee would be much younger than she was in the comics. She would basically be as she was in the 90s animated show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That would actually be pretty fun. It would be really funny if Deadpool, because it's like supposed to be like, like the children of the X-Men and stuff like that. It would probably be like a PG-13 or movie or something like that. So you couldn't do like super intense Deadpool, but I'm sure you can still make him really fun.
No, the way I would do it is when he would curse, but it would bleeped out. He'd be self-aware of the bleeps. Then whenever he stabs someone, he's like, "No blood. This is totally unrealistic. This is so inferior to my movies, which had blood and cursing and still grossed a lot of money. You think the studios would be less lazy?"
Yep.
No, Deadpool would be basically as he is now, and he'd be as self-aware as he is now, because that's one of the great parts of Deadpool that made those movies so great. Like when Juggernaut shows up and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm a big fan of yours, X-Men," and he names all the individual X-Men issues that Juggernaut showed up. I was like, yes. And then I would, of course, have a scene where someone goes, "So dark, you're sure you're not from the DC universe?"
Right.
Because that's so good. And then I would go, and then I would have Deadpool at some point go, during the bleeping, release the Deadpool cut.
Release
the Wilson cut, in other words. That'd be my thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically my, I'm only doing this as listeners of the Under Two Capes episode I did. I'll put the bar up here so you can go find that episode. No. I only did the first 10 years. In other words, up to the bad guy. So that's basically what I got, lad.
Okay, cool.
What do you got?
I got
Can't
let's
see you.
see. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Let's see. So I guess I like that approach, right? Establishing some individual characters, then building it up and stuff like that. But maybe one thing I was, I'm not stuck on this idea, but I was wondering if we could just start with an X-Men movie, just like the X-Men, and just start off with a big roster characters and then expand into spin-off movies and sequels of some sort, or maybe not X-Men, but at least 2 or 3 characters like X-Force or something, or mutants or something, right? May not full-blown X-Men, but not an individual story yet. Kind of at least maybe Magneto and I don't know, Xavier and one or two others, kind of like Mutants or X-Force or something like that, where we kind of establish their characters and grow them, and then we start doing some spin-off films, and then we do like the X-Men to kind of build up to it. But we kind of start off with a bit of a bigger roster movie.
That's an interesting way to do it.
I'm not sure how it would work.
Lore, but still,
yeah.
I would say I like your idea of like starting. It might be a good idea to start with a Magneto movie to show his perspective of hating humans, and then go to a Professor X movie showing his perspective of being like the more peaceful coexistence. So you get both perspectives as you go into the other movies.
Right. That's true. That's definitely, yeah, could definitely do that. There's another idea that we could make it that the X-Men are already established and we don't go into too much of their backstory, and we starting from the perspective of a new mutant who is joining the team. I'm not sure exactly who it could be, dude or girl character that's she or he's just discovering their powers and they're getting involved in this whole crazy world of the X-Men. And then we already have, starting right off the bat, like established X-Men and Brotherhood of Mutant teams. This one mutant is just trying to understand their place and everything on whose side they're on and their own identity there. And then we can kind of continue into like X-Men movies and, you know, maybe like a Magneto, like show in the past who the character Magneto is and stuff like that. That's another idea I had. Just kind of start off like on the bat with established X-Men mutant teams, but take it from the perspective of like a newcomer, kind of like the audience character.
That's it. You're really pushing hard for that Jubilee movie, aren't you?
It wasn't Jubilee. It could be anyone.
Because that's who she was in the X-Men show. That's why I made that.
Uh-huh. Oh, really?
And by the reason why I wouldn't start with a Wolverine movie is because that's been done 80 freaking times.
Do a Wolverine movie.
No. Okay, that's an interesting impression of Wolverine. But anyway, I'm trying to make this unique, lad.
Do Wolverine. I'm pulling out my box office. I'm pulling out the investors because I want box office money, Jared. Let's do Wolverine movie.
You know, you could still do that.
We need Wolverine. We need Wolverine movies now, like as soon as possible, because he sells really a lot of money.
And I wouldn't bring an Apocalypse at any point during this. That's the next. That's the after Phoenix villain.
Mm-hmm.
I would think. Mm-hmm. But what I would also do probably is probably build up to an Avengers versus X-Men movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then have like some conflict that would arise, like in Civil War, where the X-Men and Avengers fight.
That'd be pretty cool. I mean, everyone loved it when the Avengers fought themselves and Avengers versus Thanos' army and stuff like that. So Avengers versus X-Men would be really popular.
That's the dope storyline. Actually, what I would do for the storyline is I would probably make it so as we know, the government and mutant kind don't exactly have a friendly relationship. So what I would do is I would make it so the government there's like some attack. Magneto does like some anti-human thing. It ends up killing like a lot of people, kind of like what happened in Africa during Captain America's Civil War.
Oh, right.
Where, like that building blows up. And then what would happen is that the government says, okay, we can't afford all these mutants just running about, running amok. Cap, bring them in. Or we're going to start rounding them up. And then to get the Avengers on board, the government goes, okay, we're just bringing them in there for training to help them learn their powers. Actually, they're being sent to camps, but but we don't discover that until like midway through the movie, because it starts with an Avengers versus X-Men fight, then it ends with Avengers and X-Men fighting against Sentinels.
Nice.
And this would be the debut of the Sentinels.
Mm-hmm. I would love to see like maybe in an X-Men movie after we've already established the Sentinels or something, like you mentioned, to see the X-Men have to face off against Ultron combined with May Sentinel, something he's using Sentinel technology. I imagine like Ultron would love to get his hands on some of that, like,
He takes over one.
tech. Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. No. I mean, a good platform movie would be Ultron taking over one because it's technology and that's what he does.
Yeah. Right.
He takes over a bit and then he becomes a Sentinel.
Right. What would be really cool if Ultron was kind of like a villain for the X-Men, but he's actually helping mutant kind and trying to destroy humans. So he's kind of like he sides with Magneto for a little bit, and the X-Men have to stop him because Ultron wants to upgrade the human race, right? And the machines are more powerful and everything, but he decides that the human race is inferior, but the mutants, because they have all these abilities and the X gene and everything, that they are better than humans. And he decides that he can, to destroy like humanity and only leave the mutant race would be better. Maybe like also with maybe robotic enhancements or whatever. But like he actually joins with Magneto because he sees the mutants as like a superior species, something there. Ultron's all about that.
I dig that. That is such a great idea. That would be so dope. And then we have Magneto having to side. Here's what happens. So Ultron betrays Magneto inevitably.
Right.
Kills Scarlet Witch. And then what is Ultron made of?
Metal.
And then Magneto freaking tears him apart.
Yeah. That could work.
Because there was a scene in House of M where, so after everyone regains their memories, they launch an assault on Magneto. And they just ram a Sentinel into him. And then he just tears it apart before it could hit him. So I'm like, I'm imagining Magneto going, Ultron trying to attack Magneto. And Magneto still hasn't told Ultron about his powers yet. So somehow we make it so Ultron does not know about what Magneto can do. This is where we reveal that Magneto, what Magneto's powers are. Obviously, us as comic book fans know. But anyway, then he goes, "Oh, I see. Here's why they call me Magneto. I could control metal and just tears the body apart. Kind of like where he at first he taunts him like in X-Men 1 where he started moving around Wolverine."
Yeah.
And then it turns into like in X-Men Days to Future Past where it's kind of like that scene where he pushes the rebar into Wolverine.
Right.
Except this, he starts to tear. There's like wires and metal plates just coming apart. And then Magneto holds the skull up like Hamlet and goes, "Your mistake was thinking you were superior to me. Crush."
Right. That'd be good.
That's a fantastic idea. Wow. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, that'd be really fun. I think he could really fit for some sort of, X-Men storyline.
Plus, as far as I know, that's never been done in the comics. So you just guess what, lad?
Right.
You did what the MCU and Marvel have failed to do for like I'd say for about 10 years. Come up with an original idea that's dope.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
That'd be so cool. And then he's in all the trailers. Would you keep the same voice for Ultron as in Avengers and Age of Ultron?
Yeah, you could, because we can just say that, he always, Ultron always finds a way to survive. So maybe there's a little piece of him stored somewhere and that they managed to reboot him. So it makes sense that he's like always finds a way to come back one way or another because he's Ultron.
Yeah, you have no idea.
You could have probably like a new body. Probably like a new body that looks maybe like more like the comics or just a new design because he always upgrades. So definitely like a completely new body style, but should always have the same voice actor, at least for the MCU, because he always finds a way to come back. Even if they destroy him, they want to use him again. That'd be awesome.
And then the what if episode would be what if the what if commenters would be what if Ultron took over Wolverine and killed the Marvel universe, because he could take over people.
Right. Yeah, Wolverine could be like a like a perfect host for Ultron because he has that like regenerating body and the metal inside of him. It'd actually be really cool if part of the storyline that Ultron actually wanted to take, like, kind of like implant his mind into Wolverine's body. Like, even though he sees organics as inferior, but because he has the metal inside of him and because he's a mutant, which we said is superior, Ultron wants to use that as his perfect host. Like, Wolverine's like a really great specimen for him to like upgrade his body.
That's dope. I love that. And then you can actually have like an Age of Ultron style storyline where Ultron takes over the world, except for Krakoa. And then the movie is basically it's called the Siege of Krakoa. I'm basically putting my own spin on the Fantastic Marvel event Siege. We've covered it on the storyline where Iron Man basically throws a helicarrier at the Sentry, which was dope. But it would basically be that. It would be a war on Krakoa. And that's where we have like, it'd be an Endgame style battle.
Yes, that'd be cool.
So what else you got, lad? Who would be your like villain you tease? Like who would be the Thanos of your thing? Would it be Ultron, and then the Ultron movie would be like the Endgame style thing?
Yeah, I mean, Ultron would be a really fun character to use with the X-Men to give some new life there. But I think it'd be really cool to see Mr. Sinister pop up, because we got a little bit of hints of that at the end of, the Fox universe, but we never really got that full blown. I'd love to see him pop up in all the movies or various movies, not him specifically, but like maybe his company, and see like, in the battle scenes or with the fights that they are collecting the blood samples, like all the fighting, they are collecting blood samples. You see vials, collection. He's just collecting, all the different powers.
So he's the new collector.
Right. And he's collecting all these powers of the X-Men to use for his purposes. And I'd love to see, I think that would be really fun to tease him throughout a couple of different movies.
And
you can do a lot with him.
The way they could do that is, so he's on the side of Krakoa in the X-Men comics, but the way I would do it to complement your ideas, I'd make it so he's on their side, but you see he has a larger plan, because it's established in Hickman's X-Men that in the future he betrays the X-Men. Right. So I'm like, there you go. We could just do that.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be perfect. I forget, what is it that he actually does with all the mutant powers? Does he give them to himself, or what does he do with all that? Like, mutant.
You mean pre-Hickman?
Yeah, pre-Hickman. Like, what is
so basically what
collecting?
He does? He's trying to like create the perfect mutant, and the reason why he goes after Cyclops and Jean Grey so much because he thinks that their union will yield the perfect mutant.
I see.
And then on Krakoa, he's why they can revive the mutants, because he has DNA on every single mutant, and they inject that into the eggs, and then they speed up the incubation process, and then the whole process.
Yeah. But yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool to see him tease throughout a little bit, because you could definitely do some fun stuff with him collecting different mutant powers and everything, right?
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah, definitely like an X-Men level threat you can make him when he creates his perfect mutant.
And what's the perfect mutant is Deadpool from X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah, just like...
And then Deadpool's like, oh, not this again!
Yeah.
I thought I shot you 80 times in my movie!
Right.
I shot you before I shot Green Lantern!
Yeah.
They just name dropped Green Lantern. Right. And then, let's see. So... now, what would be like your comedy movie? Would you do a Young Mutants like I did?
Let's see. I think Gambit could be a really fun character to make like a more comedic movie. He seems like a type of character that you can have a lot of fun with. There definitely needs to be some stakes, but I imagine him like a Star-Lord type character, just from what I've seen from the animated series. He kind of gave me that vibe.
He's kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah. But definitely do a little, do something different with him, but make it like more of a comedic movie. Because I mean, I'm not sure exactly all his backstory, but I'm not sure if he has like the most dramatic of things. Like I feel like he's,
He has a
like
dramatic backstory, but he has comedic elements. You can even make it a romantic comedy and have him be with Rogue.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he can do a lot of fun stuff. He's a fun character. A lot of energy, fun abilities that'd be great for just using and battling against people. I can imagine a lot of stuff with him.
Yeah, I would love that. That actually be really cool. A
Mm-hmm.
romantic comedy with Rogue and Gambit. That's actually pretty dope.
Mm-hmm.
And then real quick, now who would you want them to cross over with in a big crossover movie? Could be the Avengers, could be Fantastic Four, could be Spider-Man even.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh man, that's a good question. Who would be good to cross these guys over with
I would do
eventually?
the Inhumans because the
Mm-hmm.
Inhumans are basically because if those of you that don't know, the reason why we had an Inhuman show that was terrible,
Uh,
there were some cool parts, cool fight scenes, but it was overall terrible. The reason why we had an Inhuman show is because Marvel was trying to replace the X-Men. That's the whole reason why
right.
that show existed, because they couldn't they couldn't do the movie rights.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we got like all that Inhuman stuff at one point. But I would have the X-Men go to war with the Inhumans, basically IVX. I wouldn't do like the whole plot about the Terrigen Mist being like bad for mutants or anything like that. But I would
Right.
find a way to put them in conflicts. And if you have an idea, just drop them in the comments right there.
Mm-hmm.
Who would be your crossover? Like I could see Spider-Man like hanging out with Deadpool.
Yeah, Spider-Man would be pretty fun to put with some of the other X-Men characters. He has a lot of energy, right? I don't know. There's also some other characters that would be really fun to bring over into the X-Men universe, or just have them show up together. Like, I don't know. Like I feel like Captain America, Sam Wilson would be really fun to put with some of the other X-Men characters because he's pretty funny, but he's also a really serious character and he's really patriotic for the country. He's really trying to do what's right for everyone.
Oh
Like
yeah.
even maybe the X-Men, which are underrepresented. So I feel like he would really fit in well, helping out the mutants or showing up at some point since we already have him doing stuff.
And then what I would do is I would play off the whole Falcon Winter Soldier subplot about him being oppressed because he's the black guy in America.
Mm-hmm.
Use that to establish like sympathy. I know what you're going through when the whole mutant thing happens. And then
Right.
for the patriotism part, I would use so he's obviously going to be the commander of the Avengers, Captain America. I would have him throughout the movie up until they team up with the X-Men constantly be like struggling with am I doing the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
Because this entire group of people were just rounding up. And then
Yeah.
eventually, obviously, he snaps out of it. He's like, okay, this is effed up.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. I mean, it seems like from what they've built up, Sam, that he wouldn't be okay with, what they're doing with the X-Men and everything. So it'd be cool to see his take on it.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, the Winter Soldier could also be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to figure out how would the Winter Soldier teams up with Wolverine.
Yeah, the Winter Soldier could team. He has the metal arm and the metal nails, and they're a great team together.
Metal nails. That's Deathstrike. So there you go. That'd be a good team up movie. I would like that. And then, yeah, I guess that's a good place to leave it on our movie universe.
We need.
Unless you have anything else to say?
Well, we can make a short film movie that's just Iron Man versus Magneto, and then in the first 5 seconds, Iron Man is just obliterated by Magneto, and it's just over. That'd be.
You would just crush him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Iron Man just gets destroyed immediately. Eject.
There's an
Yeah.
8-bit video I saw on YouTube that's like, here's the real reason why the X-Men aren't in the MCU yet. It's Magneto going up against all the Avengers, and they'll get like trashed because most of their crap is powered by metal.
Yeah.
Like Iron Man
Yep.
gets crashed, Captain America's head gets chopped off with the shield.
Yeah.
Magneto stops Thor's hammer, which would be a dope
Right.
image.
It is
He just throws
metal,
it right
right?
back at him. It's metal.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not sure if the enchanted, the enchantment would like counteract Magneto's powers, but I think that'd be just it'd be like Kylo Ren stopping the blaster bolt.
Yeah, there would definitely be some sort of interaction. Maybe he couldn't control it, but he could definitely do maybe like stop it or something.
It'd be kind of like in
Black
Thor
Widow.
Ragnarok, Hela.
Yeah, like something like that. I definitely at least could do something like that. Black Widow, she also her little miniguns and tasers and everything. You're useless. Hawkeye,
he fires an arrow and then Magneto just turns it right around.
Yeah. It would pretty much be like Hulk is the only one who doesn't have any tech stuff.
And then Magneto would just wrap him in metal and just crush him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That'd be cool. That would honestly be cool. That would be a dope book. Magneto kills the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
They should do more with the kills the Marvel Universe line, because there's so many characters that I think would be interesting, like Iron Man, not Captain America, because he wouldn't do that. They did Punisher and they did Deadpool, but I feel like there's way more characters that they could really do that'd be really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
All right, so anyway, that's a good place to leave it. Be on the lookout for our next Under Two Capes episode, and we will see you guys for our next Under Two Capes episode. Next week, we will be talking about an X-Men storyline. So I figured we'll go back to our usual schedule of every other week doing a storyline and then doing a actual general topic like we did today. And depending on how this does, we'll do more like our versions of these cinematic worlds.
Yeah, nice.
All right, so everyone, happy holidays, and we will see you in the Under Two Capes episode. Class is out of session. Your homework is to read every X-Men comic ever.
Oh, what? That's a lot of work.
Oh, I'm sure it is. All right, see you, everyone.
See ya.